reason that I really thanked Miasa, because I was looking for a support group. And when I found that Miasa had a support group, I joined it, and I found that these are the people going through the same journey as me, and I could connect more with them. With your real friends, it becomes very well. You cannot share sad, right? People don't want to hear this. So at least in a group, I found that connectedness was really good.
Yeah. So how do you persevere in all of this?
The other thing was you mentioned the lack of motivation,
Yeah.
Which is there's a medical term for it, anhedonia, because you tend to lose a lot of joy. I think it's like the reward system in the brain is not working anymore. And it hit me really hard because I had a lot of hobbies, and I started giving up things. So that I cannot. You learn to cope. So to increase, how did I cope with it? Actually, I formed a mahjong club. All right. I started teaching art in the Kari Hospital Flyer, and then later on in myself. So I can get for that. And actually, like, people who come to art class, it's not really to draw anything. It's to connect and socialize and all that. So and the other point is I really must emphasize this exercise. Like you say, being out in nature. And in Malaysia, we're quite fortunate because this is the home of the hash. I don't know whether you know the hash house areas, but I joined the hash house areas. I've been a member for a long time. And this has kept me, because every Sunday I will go out into the woods somewhere, join this group of people and run and sweat it out and all that, And I think even in my most anxious period, being out in the greenery, sweating, and this kept me going, because every Saturday night was the best night of my whole week. Because you've been out, you've been exercising, and I really want to emphasize this, because like now I cannot walk too well and all that. So I've taken up mountain biking, still going out and this thing, but you cannot stay at home. I feel that that's a totally wrong thing. You must be out and out in the greenery, parks, whatever. So that these are the few things that I say. Like playing games, like mahjong. We play for no money. So it's not gambling. We played in a cafe, and the club is quite successful. And so you're connecting with people there. Art. What is this? Then I have the hash, which is another like a social club also, like out in the woods. So these little things are the things that have been going on these days.
And being active and actually doing something about it as well,
don't stay at home and vegetate.
Yeah.
Get out, whatever you do, get out.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, like we were mentioning with Anita just now as well, like you just got to get out. If you're stuck in four walls, it just makes things worse for you, being stuck in your own head.
But I would say one thing, if you get out and just walk in the mall, that one is very stressful for me.
Worse.
All the crowds, all the crowds and all that. Nature, that's where.
Fresh air too. Thank you. And Visha, what was the one point when you decided to seek for help with regards to your mental health issues? Like you were mentioning just now that you were actually asking for someone.
Would be the time my mom left me 3 weeks. She was going overseas to do a talk. I had to be independent on my own and be able to eat lunch, dinner, and go to class. But I couldn't. I started sleeping. I didn't answer anybody's phone calls. The phone was switched off. Nobody knew where I was and what I was doing. So when my mom came back and found me unkept, the whole house is filled with plasticines and pins and like, you know, when you have cigarette butts, yeah. And then she took me to a psychiatrist because of that. And also I was 26 kilos and I started hearing my friend's voice. One day I woke up, I started hearing somebody communicating with me. I thought I was psychic, but actually no. It was a fantasy of mine. Maybe because due to loneliness as well. I just came back to KL. It's my 9th year here. So I'm still trying to understand the culture and to be a part of this society. So back then I had a few friends, but not close. So I started talking to myself. I started talking in front of the door. There's nobody at the back of the door, but I'll be talking to the door. So my mom said she'd take me to see a psychologist. And I've been to a psychologist because I've had testing done for my IQ. So I went, but it was actually a psychiatrist. So I was very annoyed with her, but she said, you can't go on living like this, must seek treatment.
So it wasn't your initiative, it was your mom's initiative to help you with seeing someone, a professional. That being said, at times, there were surely these ups and downs, and while persevering and going throughout this journey, what made you yourself be steadfast in your path, Misha?
Say it again.
During all your ups and downs, during all your episodes and everything, what made you steadfast? What made you keep on going to be where you are now?
I think it comes from inspiration and hope from others. I used to read patients who had schizophrenia and how they came out of it. I used to Google about my illness, and I usually go to a lot of mental health talks. And I also got inspired by a few people who I know personally that has come out from schizophrenia. So after that, I started having the inspiration and determined to be better. And I wanted to do advocacy to create awareness because I was stigmatized by my family. They thought that I was normal, but actually I have an illness. My parents are okay, my brother and sisters are okay. It's the other side of the family members. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And for you, Dr. Zachary, did you struggle with any kind of stigma coming from yourself? And as a medical health practitioner yourself, when you knew about the diagnosis?
Yeah, I think initially the stigma you give yourself as well is very important because you're in a bit of denial that you actually have a problem. You don't understand it, and like I said, I've been having symptoms since I was young. Just to shed a bit of light, when you're okay, actually you're not okay. You are hyper-functioning. You hyper-function until you basically tire out and exhaust whatever chemicals you have in your brain, and then you go into severe depression, as Anne says, and almost like a catatonic state where you just don't want to get out of bed, or you're not sleeping. You don't eat, but when you do, you binge. So, I digress. And the question was again?
Did you struggle with the stigma?
Yeah, the stigma. I struggled with it myself. Yeah, and because I had to take quite a bit of time off, and being in the Ministry of Health, when you are off, you actually kind of inconvenience your colleagues. because it's not like a system where you have a locum that covers you. Your colleagues have to do extra, and we would do the same for them if they're not well. But you know, there is a kind of stigma there, but a lot of it, for me, I think it's you put on yourself. And so I never actually actively or accepted it till about 3 years ago, when that's the only time I actually took medicine voluntarily or saw a psychiatrist. It's usually when you go depressed and then you have to see someone. I've seen 6 psychiatrists throughout my life, and I've only got a stable one now, which I'm very grateful for. So, yeah, I know stigma is there, but sometimes the stigma you put on yourself as well. Like when I go to the Ministry of Health committees to discuss how I'm doing, I find that actually they're quite knowledgeable, but I guess they're from the medical profession. Yeah, but I understand what Visha's saying about stigma from your family, other people who don't really understand you. So you end up having not many friends, kind of a loner a bit, but you have close friends and family. You know, so that's important. You need support. I don't know how I would have done it without my wife. And
support system is very important, isn't it? Start. As a spiritual healer, what are some of your experiences with dealing with patients with mental health disorders, and how do you let them know that this too will pass, and then thus urge them to persevere?
I somewhat agree with the observation of Carl Sino. I love this quote. I will show you this quote later. But he said something. He said, nearly all of my patients in my 30 years of profession as a psychiatrist, none of them who are above 35, none of them really healed unless they came back to their religion. This is from Carl Jung, one of the pioneers of modern psychiatry, which is the opposite of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud said something else about religion. But Carl Jung's observation is that, and I share that observation. For my clients, my friends, those who came back strongly to religion, I do not say that they recovered, but they cope better. But not any kind of religion. What I mean by religion is with depth and understanding. Okay? Not only go back to rituals, saya kena tambah semayang, saya kena tambah baca Quran. But first and foremost, to understand what it means to have a creator, what it means to be a human being. To persevere, you cannot just pick it out of thin air. It doesn't work like that. It needs to stand on a solid ground. You need to have hope, isn't it? Perseverance and hope cannot be separated. But hope also cannot be invented out of thin air. Hope needs to be grounded on something solid. It needs to be grounded on faith, not blind faith. You see, I may seem to only be speaking to Muslims, but I believe across religion. There are two different things. To have faith and to have blind faith. Hope and real perseverance cannot come from blind faith. Oh, my parents believe in such and such, so I will have to believe in such and such. It's very difficult to extract hope from blind faith. It needs to be grounded on knowledge. So when we say that we believe in something, have we checked it? Have we looked into that belief system? Because it is from there our perseverance can come from. Because we need to know that in the end of the day, the end of things will be good. What is the basis for that? What makes you think that the end of things will be good? What makes you think that, in the end of the day, even though I'm suffering today, but وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, the Quran says, the end will be for those who are the most God conscious. It means the end, not the journey. The journey may be bumpy, full of suffering, but the end, look at the end. But what assurance do we have? So it needs to be grounded in that. And the ground of all this is to really study and understand what the Creator, what or who is this Creator that we are worshiping. In Islam, and I believe in Christianity as well, we believe that God is all merciful, most compassionate. How do we know that? Is it enough to know about that from the scriptures? Again, I come back to the concept of understanding nature. There are two ways to understand God, to understand the attribute of God. Number one is, of course, through the prophets. And number two, it is through understanding and looking and observing nature. Look at nature. Some people, when they look at nature, they say, I only see ugliness, I see evil, I see suffering. I see the rats are being eaten by snakes. What is good? Where is good in nature? Where is good in reality? Everything and everyone is suffering. Right? Now, this is the most challenging part. To see hope, to see good. I'm taught from the Islamic religion that there is no such thing as absolute evil. Yes, there are evil. We have to acknowledge that. But there is no such thing as absolute evil, meaning to say, evil is there for a greater purpose, for a good purpose. And we heard from the speakers and also from our fellow guests today, how their mental challenges have made them into a stronger person, have elevated their ranks in the grading of human beings. I will put them very high in that ranking. They have went through real challenges and they have overcome it. And they are still overcoming it with patience and perseverance. But we have to have hope that God is good and the end of things will be good. As we cringe when we say that snakes are eating rats, we have to also realize that it is good for the snake. Not only suffering for the rat. And their existence is for a bigger, harmonious existence. That is what I mean by there's no such thing as absolute evil. Evil is therefore higher good. This is not what I say, it is by Imam al-Ghazali in his Ihya al-Ulumuddin. When we speak about the problem of suffering, we really have to find an answer for that. Why do we need to suffer? Why is there evil? Why do we need to be tested by God? What is the meaning of existence? Many people, they shy away from these questions because there's no absolute answer to this. Everyone can say anything they want about it. But at the core of our being are actually these questions. We do not run away from these questions.
You know, but unfortunately, when you talk about these questions and stuff, I mean, here in Malaysia, I mean, I don't know if anyone else has experienced it, but when in school, we're taught not to question so much, you know, so it becomes kind of like, you know, but I want to know, but you shouldn't question because it is what it is, you know, so how do we...
It still puzzles me today. Even if you look at the Bible, there are so many verses that encourage us thinking.
Yeah.
And same goes with the Quran. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Are you not wondering? How? Why are you thinking like this, Allah says? مَا أَنْتُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ. Why are you thinking like this? Why are you thinking logical fallacies? Why are you not observing? Why are you not observing with creation? But when it comes to our culture, I'm not sure how come that portion, that very important part of our religion is missing. And the focus now is only on love and emotions. Why? Of course, our secular brothers and sisters will say, you know, why do we need religion? You know, I can organize my life well without religion. I can attain happiness without religion. I can love without religion. Then we also started to question the importance of religion. But when it comes to the core of religion, it's about the truth. It's about knowing the truth. It's about thinking about the truth. It's about real depth in our thought process. So it still puzzles me as I still have not got the answer yet.
Alright, I just want to know, like, I think we kind of touched that a little bit, but what is the advice for those struggling with mental health disorders and mental illness from a spiritual light? What is the advice you would give to someone?
Number one, my suggestion will be, we have to acknowledge that we have a soul. We are not only brains. Of course, this is a big debate among psychiatrists and psychologists and spiritual healers around the world. What is this thing that we call soul? Are we not only atoms and molecules and neurons and particles in our brains? But as a person of religion who follows the path of the prophets throughout human history, we cannot ignore the essence of the soul. And when we have acknowledged that we have a soul, we have to know the function of the soul. And what nourishes the soul. Say like, we know the purpose of the stomach, we know the functions of the stomach. But what is the function of the soul? And if the soul is not nourished, I believe as a spiritual healer, it may lead even to brain problems. Okay, because human being is a holistic being. Your spirit affects your body and your body affects your soul. Psychosomatic. From Abu Zayd al-Balkhi 1,000 years ago. That your body can affect your brain and your mind, and your mind can affect your body. And then, we are not bounded totally by our body. It is very important. No, this cliche, people always say that we are not our brains. Okay? But of course, we are bounded in some way with our brain. But we are not bounded 100% by our brain. If we are bounded 100% by our brain, how can someone who has some chemical imbalance can ever control his emotions? There must be something else that is beyond the brain, that is able to resist. What is that being that resists? We believe that is the mind, or in other words, it is the soul. And of course, the oft-repeated advice by all spiritual teachers, do good. As much as we can do. The Prophet Muhammad said, if you want God to alleviate you from your suffering, do good. Do good. Experience the suffering of others. Be empathetic, be sympathetic. Okay? And the last one is to be in a jama'ah. That's why in Islam, when you pray in a jama'ah, in congregation, you get more reward, 27 times. Like what Dan said, never stay at home, be in your own man cave, go out, be with people. And of course, be with good and positive people. Not with people from bottom city that produces butterfly doctor. Right? There are good human beings out there. We have to actively search for them. There are people who understand. There are people who want to help. But we have to have hope. But hope is rested upon our belief that there is a compassionate God out there.
Thank you. Daniel, what gives you hope, Daniel?
Yes, I was going to touch on that when I was listening to Stas. I think the first time I saw the psychiatrist, the greatest gift he gave me was hope. Because he said, oh, this is some hormonal changes and you will get out of it, So that everybody needs hope, and that has kept me going all this while, You might say, okay, even a vain hope is better than no hope, okay? Hey, I was thinking of something, I'm sorry. There's a poster that says, a person who dies by suicide doesn't want to end his life, he just wants to end his pain. I always thought that something is missing there, There must be another line that goes, he wants to end his pain, but has lost hope that he can do so. Because if you have hope, you can endure pain, That's my feeling, you break a leg and it's really painful, but you have hope that the leg will heal and the pain will go away. So there's a line missing in that thing. The other thing I would like to mention is that what good comes out of depression, when it seems all negative. But actually, I found that before depression, I was a very non-empathetic person. I didn't care about others. But it was only after the depression that I started to really empathize with people. So there is some good that came out of it. You know, there's no all bad or all good. You must see the silver lining.
It's a balance, it creates balance in some
Yes.
way.
Yes, you know.
Lovely. And what do you? Okay, and last but not least, Dr. Zachary. Are there any words of wisdom for those from the medical background who are also struggling with mental health issues? I did read in some of the comments previously that there is someone in the medical industry who is suffering from mental illness as well. So what are the kind of advice you could give to someone?
I think you mentioned words of wisdom. I don't think I have any wisdom at all. I am still learning, and I think, as Ustaz says, there's a lot of aspects to this dealing with it. I have to be honest that probably my spiritual side of this thing could do with a lot more. But I have what you need. First of all, I think what you need is support. If you don't have a companion, then you need to talk to your family. And sometimes your family won't understand. You need your friends. And if you don't have friends, I think that's why Miyasa is such an important thing. You need a dedicated, maybe not psychiatrist necessarily. Like I said, I've seen 6, and it takes a long time before you get one that understands you and you can talk to, because a good psychiatrist for you might not be the right one for somebody else. Same goes for a psychologist. I am heavily medicated, but the drugs is not the only thing. You know, you need therapy as well. There are different types of, I'm sure you've heard of CBT, there's IMHRC, which I do. It's not easy. And advice is you need to persevere. I mean, I'm about 41, 42, which is quite young, I think. But what I'm trying to say is that it took a long time for me to get to this point where I finally accept it. So if you are struggling now, and you will struggle, because I didn't understand what's going on as well for a long time. So don't give up. And for those in the medical profession, we are in a very intense environment, you know, where you're expected to function at a very high level. So I wouldn't say you can use me as an example. I'm kind of lucky. I like what I do, and if I'm okay or manic, I tend to overwork, which is good. But sometimes you have to realize as well that maybe clinical work, if you have mental, might not be the best. So you can do hospital management, which is still medical related. It's not the end all and be all, and you can't do it, you know. But the key thing is, as they say, the mental health first before your work or before anything else. I think that's my advice.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all our panelists. We would like to take some questions from Slido first before we move on. Has anyone hidden any questions? Do I check? And is anyone on the